Is it 7? It's 7:02. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And if
Madam Chair, prior to the beginning of the
Yep.
meeting, I would like to point out the fire exits are located to the back and the sides of the auditorium.
Thank you, Colleen. Our first order of business is to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Madam Chair, can I ask that we also take out of order after the pledge that we do the recognition?
Yes, well,
section?
let's get through the Pledge of
you.
Allegiance and I'll ask for a motion to move that item.
Thank you.
Kids always get top priority around here. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. But I have to do
Madam Chair, I would request that we take out of order item C for the recognition of our music students.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we're going to have the national anthem sung by one of our students. Grace, would you introduce him for us, please?
I'm Grace Norton. So sorry. First school committee meeting. My name is Grace Norton. I have the pleasure of teaching choir here at Situate Middle and High School. And to sing the national anthem this evening is Calvin Hillis Pyack.
Thank you, Grace. Would everyone stand for the national anthem?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. Excellent job. Thank you, Grace, for all the work that you do with our students around the chorus and the singing and the music. I asked that we recognize our music students tonight. When I attended the holiday concert, Stephanie Vantine informed all of us in the audience about what great talent we have in the musicians in this district. And so a number of our students have been recognized on a state level, and I would like the school committee to be aware of those recognitions. I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie so that she can tell you the students' names and all of the recognitions that they have had. We are very fortunate to have Stephanie and Grace work with our kids. They work tirelessly. They do music activities in the community. They support many things in the town, and our kids get to participate, and they are clearly doing a great job with our kids. So we often recognize our athletes. I think it's also important that we recognize our arts. So Stephanie? Thank you.
All right, so we have a number of wonderful musicians who have made All-State, and a couple of our musicians were also selected for All-Eastern, which is a huge honor, not only for Situate, for also state of Rhode Island for having so many students. My back's to you, sorry. So our first certificate achievement, Jules Racine on flute. She was selected for All-State on flute for the orchestra. Congratulations. Christopher Corsi on clarinet for All-State Band. He couldn't be with us this evening, so I'll accept that for him. One of our students was nominated for All-Eastern for Barry sax, that's Dan Sheehan. And he was also selected for All-State for bass clarinet, jazz tenor sax, jazz bari sax, also band for bass clarinet, tenor sax, and bari sax. He's at All-State rehearsal tonight. So we have his dad, Brian Sheehan, coming up to accept.
Congratulations, Dad.
I know a lot of it's the parents too. We need to remember that. One of our freshmen, Addison Naylor on tenor saxophone, was added to our All-State band. So congratulations to her. I'll accept it. We have Nora Runner, who is All-State jazz trombone, also All-State band trombone and band euphonium. And so she's at jazz rehearsal tonight as well. So that's Nora Runner. And we also have Evan Williams selected for All-Eastern for tuba and also All-State tuba. Congratulations. Formal. You want to announce the choral students? I'll have Grace announce her choral students.
We have two students who were accepted into the Rhode Island All-State Chorus. The first student that we will recognize is Abby Thoreau.
We didn't bring those with us, so we'll get those certificates.
Thank you, Mrs. Stanley.
Yeah. Yay!
And Calvin Hillis Pyack was also accepted into All-State. Congratulations. Good job, Calvin.
For the number of students that are recognized by both the state level and the Eastern level is phenomenal for a high school our size. We have an awful lot to be proud of. On your next school committee agenda, you will see a field trip that will be coming forward from Stephanie to go to the Coast Guard Academy to do some musical exhibitions over there. So I'm hoping the superintendent gets an invite to that particular activity. Yeah, I know, a clearance. So we're very, very proud. Excellent job. Thank you very much.
I'd like to, and Courtney, is it
Grace.
Grace? I'm sorry. It's nice to meet you, Grace. I don't know if I've met you. Because it is nice to hear from the arts. You know, we hear and celebrate a lot of our athletes, but you know, it's amazing to see such wonderful artists here in our school as well. And, you know, we've got so many wonderful things happening by our students. You know, when you get through all the minutia of budgets and things like that, this is it's so nice to see the students and see them excel. So I want to thank you and thank all of the students for doing their best, and I wish you all lots of luck. And I also want to put a special thanks out to you, Stephanie. You have done a lot for this community. There's never a time when we've asked you to come forward with the band, and whether it's, any event that's happening throughout our town, and you've always been so gracious, and you've gotten the kids there and you're marching right along, and but I do appreciate that. Oh, you're welcome.
No, Caroline, I just want to piggyback on what you said. And maybe apologize a little bit too, because I've been up here for a little while and I don't know that we've ever recognized our music or our vocals, our choral or our band students before. And it's not because we weren't proud of you. It's not because, so kudos to whomever brought this to us in any, at any chance that we have any accomplishments that are made, please, please, please make us aware so that, because as Carolyn said, every student here matters and every program matters. So what you're doing, and a lot of times for many of you, those of you that are performing individually or as a band, takes a lot of guts and courage to do what you're doing, and a lot of determination, a lot of time, efforts, and energies. So we're proud of you. So again, my apologies for not having you up here sooner, but as long as I'm up here, we'll be recognizing you moving forward.
Colleen, we actually did. We had during COVID, we had them performing.
We did. No,
They-
but
We
these-
did. That's when it started is
But
during
these
COVID.
aren't, this isn't the first time, I don't think, that our students have made all state or all Eastern, and we've had some. So moving forward, this is going to be part of our ongoing celebration of our students. So thank you. And thank you to our educators too.
Well, since your superintendent used to play clarinet, I might have a little.
Bias there. You weren't an all-state wrestler?
No,
Okay. Um,
nothing.
yeah, well, thank you. I know that for a while we were having students come up every meeting, and that was kind of like the highlight, because I've always been in the background when it came, love children, but I never get into the trenches with them like you all educators do. So, if there's ever anything that stands out, Grace, that's special, if they can open up our meeting or anything that they contribute to start our meetings, please keep us in mind. Mike, keep us in mind. So, okay, thank you.
That's a fabulous idea, Carolyn, without putting any pressure on anybody.
Yeah,
I
well,
would
the
love to
kids might
open,
like it.
or parents, those that have to be
They can
driven
play
everywhere they
can
go.
Play the flute.
But it would be whatever if any, yeah, that would be a wonderful, maybe like a 2-minute process. And we promise to put you at the beginning so you don't have to listen to all our
Always,
long, blah,
always.
blah, 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 blah. That would be
So,
wonderful.
But let us know. Just
Yeah.
let Lori know, and we'll get you right on the agenda. So. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Anything that you can bring the kids to us. It's nice to deal with the kids for a change instead of all the adults. So, okay, well, thank you again. And again, kids always take top priority on the agenda. So,
And I would like to say, I've said this before when we've had other students here, you are more than welcome to stay for our entire meeting, but please, by all means, you're free to leave at this point. It's especially hard when you're sitting in the front row and you're like, oh my God, we absolutely get it. You are free to go. You're welcome to stay, but you're free to leave at this time. And thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you again. Nice to see you, Grace. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Before we move on to the rest of the regular meeting agenda items, I do want to report out on our executive session. Now that we've taken and recognized our students. During executive session, there was a discussion on the 2 items noted, and there was 1 vote taken on to approve the executive session minutes. So with that said, we'll now move on to the consent agenda. And do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I make a motion for the consent agenda for the Minutes for the regular session for December 2022, the budget workshop for December 2022, and the special school committee meetings for December 2022. Also to include the bills, general fund bills, IDA B, IDA preschool, Rhode Island mental health, CTE, NWR special education, in the amount of $238,554.96. General fund bills, IDA B, IDA preschool, food services in the amount of $475,071.90. General fund bills, IDA B, Rhode Island mental health, Northwest NWR special education in the amount of $392,570.44. And general fund bills, IDA B, IDA preschool, Rhode Island mental health, food services in the amount of $623,422.39.
Second.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah. Before we go for the vote, does anybody have any questions? No. I do want a couple of questions on the format. I'm a little confused about how the bills are presented this month because typically it's the general, the general fund bills, and I really would like to see those separate because they have such an additional oversight because it's tax dollars and it's very limited and we watch the bottom line of that. So if you could go back to the previous format, I mean, I don't mind you listing out each individual grant and talking about what bills belong to those grants. That might be nice to see how much money is flowing through those grants. But I definitely want to see the general fund bills, I think, separately. I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but it's good to see the operations budget.
I think historically we've always received
It helps us understand how the budget is
what's
being
in our
spent
operations
down,
and what's,
and that is state education aid and local tax dollars in the general fund.
Stephanie, is there a reason why you chose this format? Is it something that's changing along with everything else that you have to do for?
So I didn't, Jen does this portion of it and then we go through it together if there's anything that's strange or different than usual, and then we cover it together. But it does say on your cover sheets what specifically is a general fund, but we can just change it back. It's not big. 2 seconds.
Because oftentimes you say, well, I did that because now I have to move this over here and that over
Well, the
here.
new FMIS system too might be driving something like that. So it is a good point. But if you could actually put it on the agenda, I think it's important for even the community to see that fund in particular.
Okay.
I'm sure even some of the town council members might be watching.
no problem.
Who knows, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. The next agenda item is the superintendent's report.
So I will start with the employee updates, and those are in your packet for review. I would just like to recognize Mr. Edward Kershaw, the Hope Valley custodian.
Hope School.
I mean, oh boy.
I don't think that's
School.
our community.
No, it's not. Flashback, way back. Hope Elementary School custodian, who is retiring February 4th. I'd like to thank him for his service and recognize his commitment to Situate for all these years. So I knew you were going to ask that. 30 some odd. Yeah, he's been here a long time. Yeah, so kudos to him. He's going to go retire.
Congratulations.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will make sure that we get something out to him at Hope to recognize him before he leaves us February 4th. The rest of my report is just a update for the committee around my mid-year goals and key tasks as we agreed upon during my evaluation meeting. This write-up is in your packet. I've granted all members access to the document that Carolyn had shared with me for documentation purposes. This performance dashboard form that I completed, and I tried to color code it for you. I go back to my, okay, I go back to my elementary roots of sort of color coding things. So this is a Google document that I will be continuing to update and add to, and you will have access to at any point in time that you want to, you know, take a look at it.
Just jump in for 1 second while
Sure.
we're talking about the document. because
Sure.
I know Erica and I had. Oh,
Oh.
sorry. As Erica and I had talked about the document, this particular document, because as you know, we spent a lot of time on the superintendent's evaluation process. And I'm on the board of the charter school at the Rise Academy in Woonsocket. And that was, and I have always used this kind of a dashboard. I don't, Colleen, have you ever seen the dashboard like this? Yeah, so it's kind of a, it's a tool that's used quite often. We always used it at Ride. And so when I saw that, I went, oh, that might be helpful for her to track it and might be able to do that. But I don't want the committee to think that I'm making any kind of a unilateral decision here, Erica. If you have any comments on that, I don't know if you had a
don't.
chance to look at that. We could go back and, maybe go, I think it would be good if we kind of got that subcommittee back together after we've been through like a year, and maybe we can, I know you put a lot of time to this, so
So
I
I'm
get.
glad you're bringing that up because, in fairness to any superintendent, we want to make sure that and I know you agree with this. And I was talking to Lori and she said she likes this
Okay.
tool. but
Yeah, I
who's to
thought she
say-
would like it,
But
yeah.
there is another tool that we already voted on. This is better, but I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that Lori doesn't have to respond to more than, like 5 different school committee members. If Lori
Exactly. I
uses
might have
tools-
gotten out in front of that, but I don't think we had seen that tool before being
We didn't,
used.
we didn't.
So when I saw this, I was like, this is like so easy. It's, it's not easy setting it up. It's a lot of work setting it up, but it's easy. And with the colors, you know what's on track and what's at risk.
Lori likes the tool. It's easy for
Okay,
the
I didn't know if you
artifacts.
had a chance to talk to her about that,
Yeah.
but I don't want to get in front of our committee, and I kind of
Yeah.
already did.
And I wanted to make sure that, we,
So do we have to eventually go back at
I-
some point and vote this
I
into the
think so.
process?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And to
And we
that-
might want to see improvements. People might have other suggestions, and you too, Lori. Like for me, it was always, it's green that's exceeding, it's yellow that is meeting it. It was orange at risk, and red, there's no way we're gonna make it this year. We
That
got-
I wasn't aware of.
So I.
No,
wasn't
no,
aware
I'm
of
just
that
saying
either.
typically that's how the colors went. So we might wanna, update the, based on what the committees.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Certainly not fair to you.
Yeah, I was just
So- oh, yeah,
trying to
yeah,
be
yeah.
helpful,
that's a
and
good
I think
point.
I got out in front of
Yeah, I
everybody.
think that's fine, just so that you know, I wasn't aware of that, Carolyn, so when I color coded things
It's
green.
fine the way it is. It's just that you can put that other layer in, because it's something that's at risk versus something like, you may have something just to do with extenuating circumstances that's not going to make it that year. That's just going to turn red. But some of them you might be behind on, and you might want to have that middle color.
Well,
That's
you'll
all.
see, I have something that's yellow on there, and
Microphone.
you'll see I have something that's yellow on there, and the reason it's yellow, I think the one thing I would ask and suggest that the form be modified to add a comments
Yeah,
column.
It can be anything
because
you
I
want. I
wanted
wanted
to-
you to make it your own, to make it easier for you to kind of capture what. your
Yeah, I just
project
wanted to
is.
explain why that goal hasn't been
Mhm.
started yet, given the negotiations we were involved in with teachers. It did not seem appropriate at the time to work on that goal. I just didn't feel like I was going to be very successful with those coffee hours. So I wanted to wait
Okay.
until that had been resolved, and they're scheduled now. So, but that's why I color coded that yellow,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
But if we want to have a conversation about what colors and what those colors mean,
Well, I think it's
to
a.
put that
it-
key
that
on
would be
there
like a
would be
work in
good for
progress, right, for the
anybody
committee.
who uses the form in the future,
Exactly. It shouldn't be,
right?
again, like with everything, like with everything, like I need it, right? Like with everything, there should be a key because
Right.
your interpretation might be that
Right.
red means, yeah, whatever it would be. So I don't care what the colors are.
Yeah,
really.
I don't either.
You could put
Put the
purple
key
and
on there.
pink.
Yeah,
Right.
as long as, in
just
every,
those
so it's a
three
universal
colors. Yeah,
language.
those-
And you're right, it has nothing to do with Lori. It
Right.
has to do with whatever.
Whoever,
Yeah.
right.
I want to get back to Erica. So Erica, how do we get back on track?
So this is what I think. First of all, I think we need to ask the committee tonight, do we want? I already told Lori to for next week when we have this meeting to go over your evaluation, to wait to tonight to find out from the rest of the committee
Yes.
if we want her to do the form that we voted on. In addition to this form, it doesn't seem necessary to do both forms. So can we as a committee?
In your opinion, and I don't recall the forms, that it was such a big project and it took us so much time to go through the evaluation, creating the evaluation process. In your opinion, is this form more comprehensive and easier to work with? I don't remember the other form at all. 'Cause
Yeah,
we could update the other form.
In my opinion, this form is already electronically created. And the form that we had, we
Is
would have
more
to
about-
create an electronic
Okay.
form, which we were going to ask IT to
Was it
do.
capturing yes, was it capturing
The
the
artifacts.
information differently, the form?
I have it if you want to see it. I think from what I saw, from what Lori had sent us in our packet, that the form that she's using now, and I want to hear from you too, Lori, because you're the one
Mhm.
that has to fill this out.
Yes.
It seems to be a better form once you figure out how to use it.
This one or the other
No,
one?
the other one you
Okay,
have.
all right.
It takes all the information that we were asking for, but yours, the one that Lori's using now was electronic and we just had paper.
Yeah.
We needed IT to make this into an electronic
Yeah,
form.
because this is just a spreadsheet.
Correct. So, I maybe tonight we can, I don't know if we can vote or just
No,
kind of
we
like,
can't
hey,
vote,
general
just having
consensus,
a
like, hey, that's
discussion, 'cause
fine. We don't
I'm
need to do
reacting
another
to
one.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not on the agenda. We're reacting to her superintendendent's report.
in the
But do
form
you
that
want
she's
us to
using.
put this on the agenda to update this, or do you want to go back and refresh, take a new, just go back and revisit that whole process as we're going into the new fiscal year in July 1?
So Sean, for next Tuesday, we have a school committee meeting to go over the superintendent's evaluation.
Mhm.
Since it's posted, can we make sure that the agenda reflects? Because part of the evaluation is making changes. So can't we just do it all right there at that meeting next Tuesday instead of you and I having a separate subcommittee meeting? And then coming back
So you
to
want me to put it on the agenda?
for next Tuesday, right? We can just add that, right, Sean?
Yeah, we haven't written it yet.
Does that make sense,
Right.
Carolyn?
It does, but we're going into and correct me if I'm wrong, Patty, the evaluation is going into executive session. Can we do it during executive session?
It's
Or
part
that-
of changes, if it's part of changes.
So if changes to the evaluation to our
Tool.
tool are connected to the performance of an individual, that can be done in executive
Okay.
session.
And then we can just, when we come out of
Report out.
exec, yes,
That we've updated the form.
I need to challenge that. I just want to process that, not challenge it. I'm sorry. So, because from what I'm hearing, two different things. So in executive session, obviously, performance review belongs in executive session, no question, no doubt. What I think I hear us talking about, my mic's on, I thought it was coming to get me. I'm like, it's on. Is the tool that we're using to do the evaluation, right? So the tool, and I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a
Just not
molehill, has
it's a
nothing to
progress.
do with
The
employee
performance.
A or performance.
No,
or
it
their
has nothing to do with
performance. So I don't
performance.
think
It's
that
just
belongs in
it's a
executive session.
tracking tool, right?
Does that make sense? I'm just questioning.
So yeah, I'll give you a scenario. You're
Please.
talking about employee A. Employee A, you're in executive session discussing performance. An issue arises, comes to your attention. Oh, the tool, you have a discussion about, the tool needs to capture issue A, B, or C. It doesn't do that. Something like that, that springs naturally from that discussion. If you're going to have strictly a discussion about some theoretical tool that you're going to design to evaluate individuals, that certainly, to your point, Colleen, would be in public session.
I don't want to
So-
make a mountain out of it. Like,
I just want to get
yeah.
the order right, because if we're talking about I don't know. I don't know.
So.
So you wanted to have a discussion on the tool after we
No, I
evaluate
know,
it?
I know. I'm
No,
not,
I think we're good. As we're going over this, we can
Use this new tool.
decide that, yes, this tool is fine in the dashboard.
Can we say something like this, Sean, that during executive session, the committee agreed to substitute. Do I even need to say that? Or is
never
it
know,
just
'cause
the
I don't think we
conversation?
never-
I'm gonna jump in here and suggest that in terms of what you want to discuss at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Carolyn, you and I and the superintendent can have a discussion when that agenda is set up, so we could kind of define these rules. I don't want to, that's fine. I don't want to get too much far down the weeds of what we can and can't
To
talk
go
in
off our
executive
own
session
agenda
to go off
tonight.
our own agenda for
Okay.
tonight.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I'll
But
go
thank
back
you,
to my
Erica.
report.
I know I understand that there was
Yeah.
Erica.
So as documented in the performance, and I am calling this document that was included in your packets with my goals and progress, a performance dashboard. The items in green are items that have been completed by me. I've held 2 superintendent coffee hours with parents thus far. The meetings with teachers, the coffee hour meetings with teachers will be scheduled beginning next month. And my plan is to rotate those coffee hours 1 month as a secondary meeting and the next month as an elementary meeting, so that I can hold them directly after teachers get out of school. So it's convenient for teachers to attend. I've delayed this based on the previous negotiation schedule. And I have developed the exit interview survey, as was one of my goals. And that link was, is in that document, so you can look at that. That will be posted on our website in an employee portal. Patty has access to it right now. So I think our first, I say jokingly, victim will be Ed from Hope Elementary School. And Patty will, when he retires, before his school email is shut off, she will share that exit interview form with him for his completion and submission back to the district. So that has been completed. I've attended a number of school events as well as 2 community events, and those are documented also on the performance dashboard. Additionally, I was the acting principal at Clayville while Miranda went out to have her 2 babies, and I got to tell you, that was actually fun. So I spent a lot of time at Clayville that particular week. I have begun the review of the new contract language with the principals during our January 4th meeting. I've also begun reviewing some of that contract language change with the payroll clerk and with Patty and the clerks in my office as to the relevant contract language changes that will affect the work that they do. I will continue to review those changes with the principals at our monthly meetings. The gap closure programs at the middle school have been designed. I have spoken to Dana about those, and they are to begin within the next couple of weeks. Parents and students have been notified about the availability and the schedule of those programs. The high school also is beginning their SAT prep program. And once the programs begin, I will meet with those administrators to monitor student success and program success. The district strategic plan is completed in draft form. I am working with a RIDE consultant to format that information into a visual platform so that we can put it on the website for parents, community, and others to see. Right now, that document, because we had to utilize the RIDE format and form, the document is 106 pages long. It's rather unwieldy. So we're looking for a mechanism to share that information that is easier for people to digest and actually review.
Can
So,
I just comment?
sure.
Who is going to read 106 page?
Well, that's
strategic
what we've,
plan?
that's what we've
Oh my God, that's
told
like,
RIDE that,
that's like useless. One of the things that we really tried to do when I think this is our second, we re-upped it, is to try to have a living document that, people, instead of having, how many strategic plan processes have we've all been through and they just end up sitting on the shelf. So I hope that when you go through the process of paring it down and you can really bring it up to a point where it's going to be, user friendly and be really embedded into the work of the classrooms and of the buildings,
the goals are good. I think that
Mhm.
the work that people did in creating the goals and the strategies is very good.
I think it also, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The problem is that we have to use RIDE's template and process, and merely by doing that, the document is 106 pages long.
Now I'm not surprised it's 106 pages
It's
long.
it's not us, right?
Yeah.
And we are not the only community to communicate with RIDE.
Okay.
That
That
the-
explains a lot.
That's why we're looking to make the visual so that it is user friendly, Carolyn, and people will.
I just want it to be incorporated into the day-to-day work.
It's
of-
good. It's good work. They're
That those
good
goals
goals.
should be in the forefront of what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think it's good work. I think that people were very focused. I think they used the data that we had at hand. I think the goals are good. I think they're aligned. I just think the document is not user friendly. So we're going to find a mechanism with a RIDE consultant to make it user friendly.
Do you know how long it will take RIDE to help us do this?
She has assured me that I sent her our strategic plan, and she's actually going to load it in for us because RIDE has gotten a number of concerns from districts around the product when you go through this process.
Okay.
So
So
she's hoping to use
We're the
that-
first guinea pig?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's hoping to use our visual model with other districts who are also concerned.
So it's almost like, so I'm gonna ask a question, I know the answer to it, but RIDE didn't develop, who developed our strategic plan?
We developed our plan.
Right, so we know what the plan is.
Yes.
Right? So
The
it's clear-
plan is good.
Yeah, no, and that's the point where, again, it was I'm sure due diligence was done and it was a cohesive joint efforts amongst.
It was teachers, it
Yep,
was parents, it was
yep.
community
So
members.
we know RIDE is mandating, I'm gonna use the word, right?
It is.
106 page form, but we need to come up with or without RIDE. We know we know the work that needs to be done.
Right.
Cliff notes, right? And do they even do those
Exactly.
anymore? Do they call
It's a
them that? Whatever.
visual,
I'm that,
it-
I'm
it-
that old.
it's a visual,
Yeah.
concise, color coded. Yeah. It's going to be much more user friendly.
I'd like to ask them how long their strategic plan is.
Well, it's funny you say that because I went and looked because I thought,
it's like 10 pages.
yeah,
right?
it's very
I
short.
know. I've done many of them,
Yeah,
many of them
It's
over
very
there.
short,
So
and I'm not sure they used the
they
same.
have, and it's all dashboards and it's all back to that
Well,
form.
they don't
Every-
work for
every
me, so I
goal is
can't.
tied back to everybody's goals, and it was such a streamlined, it was a wonderful process. So for me to hear 103 pages, I also want to just make sure that, and I don't know how the committee feels about this, but if it's a strategic plan that's setting the direction of our district, and that needs to be resourced, and it's us making sure that we're getting what our taxpayers have been promised. I think that strategic plan does need to come to the committee before it gets public. Just for.
It will.
Okay, so
It
you're
will.
gonna do a presentation.
Oh,
also-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it will. It's
Okay.
just,
When you said it's going on the website.
I don't want to
go,
bring you
No,
106
don't
pages,
bring us. No, we'll have to have a weekend retreat for
Right.
that.
a week retreat. The goal around student achievement and middle school math scores increasing by 5%. That goal has been reached, honestly, because the scores were due to COVID, and last year the scores were so low that
Couldn't really use it as a indicator.
we clearly made that 5%. I will say, though, in looking at the scores, I dug pretty deep in the RIDE data, and in grade 6, that jump for grade 6 is significantly
I
higher.
was just gonna say, you killed it on
Significantly.
grade
Yeah.
6.
So Dana and I and Jen, the assistant principal, are really digging deep. And again, I've asked a RIDE consultant to come out and to work with Dana and I and Mike and look at our data and look at our MTSS systems and really drilling down to make sure that we are able to use that data to drive the differentiation and the support for the kids that need it based on RICAS.
I don't know if
So
it would be helpful. I think it was like in November. I don't know if you were on that meeting, but we have the results of those and it might be helpful for you to see where, and they have it by grade. They did
I
it.
can
They
send it.
did a presentation, so you can see where we are academically by grade, where they've been, where it's grown. And I think it might be really a good, give you a good sense and a good level, benchmark of where we are now, where we've been and how far we have to go. Some of them not far, but you know,
Lori, if you want to send that to me, I know I was at that meeting, but if you want to send, it's
I
good
just
to,
made a note. I'm going to send
Thank
you
you.
all that RICAS presentation data. So that is a report out on the goals that and the tasks that we agreed upon when we developed my evaluation. I know that we will speak in depth the next week, but I wanted you to have this information in preparation for next week anyway.
ask you a quick question. According to the plan that it's supposed to be like, that's why I was looking for a tool for it to be reported out monthly, just an update. Here's how I've done. But you know what I wanted to mention to you? Really fast. This is more of a combination of, remember we talked about the work plan? This is more granular than this. Remember we said you got to put the tasks on and how you're going to do that.
Facts need to go in.
So this is kind of a combination of both the
Right.
dashboards. So and plus it includes the artifacts.
Right.
So it's kind of all inclusive.
And I think it's going to be easier for any superintendent to keep track. But
We
going
have to change
forward,
the process. Yeah. We
going
gotta
forward,
update the process.
not that this form has to be discussed every single meeting, but every single meeting should if there is a progress being made towards any goal. Lori knows that going forward that it can be more pointed out, like you have done some of these things and announced some of these things in your monthly report, but not pointed it out to us that this is an artifact for goal. Is that? Just to make it more evident of what goals you're working towards so that we can also keep track of the artifacts. But like you said, you'll be updating this for us to have access to at any time,
Yes.
which will help too. But just to, and also a very big part of this evaluation form is for the community,
Right.
for them to see what the goals are of the
And
district.
how
'Cause
progress you're making.
exactly. And what we have decided as a committee to make the goals to be and how it all ties to the strategic plan, because we need to be strong partners with the community. And this is just another way to make it
I think
apparent.
this document made us jump light years towards that direction. It's not perfect and we have to fix the process pieces of it, but it is, I think it's a good document.
Yeah, and
And I think that
Lori
Erica's
likes it
point
too.
is well taken. I often report on this
Little- but
work.
Now you can see it.
But I am not
Yes.
calling out that it's connected to my evaluation and I need to do
Well,
that.
that way you see it all on one.
Yeah.
Because we as committee members will be doing a scoring sheet at the end of the year, and we need to be aware ourselves, and it's on us to make sure we are up on the artifacts that you're keeping track of. This will help us.
Now, I just have one question. Will this be posted on the school website or
Mhm.
after, at the end?
Mhm.
Oh, no,
It's ongoing.
ongoing.
Ongoing, continually.
The performance
The
dashboard.
dashboard.
Yes.
As a matter to that point, Kevin, I think the entire process should be on our website. We just have to get rid of the watermarks and clean it up.
Do I have the document?
You do. I
Okay.
think you have the document that does that.
Brush them off. Right after we get done. Got that, Patty?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Lori. That was good.
You're welcome.
Our next item on the agenda is public comment and questions. So if there's anyone in our audience here in the auditorium or at home that would like to make a comment or ask a question, we ask that you come up and state your name and your address.
Paul Amaro, 117 Trimtown. Any update with Rockland Oaks, the water?
It's funny you should say that. I talked to the health department today and they have asked me if I could talk to the interlocal trust. So that conversation is being set up because as you may recall at the last budget committee meeting, there was a very substantial list of questions around the funding and how it would potentially integrate with a bond, how it would integrate with the reimbursements for ride. And so I've actually will be asking her if she's available to talk to the committee tomorrow night, if we can see if it's eligible to be spoken about on the agenda. But if not, I also told her that I can put it on the agenda for next Tuesday and she could just come in and just talk about the infrastructure bank and how that funding, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But I think it's important that, we all get a better understanding of this and figure out where we're going. I did sense that the urgency is still there.
it is.
And Councilman Collins has reached out to me today, so I haven't had a chance we haven't connected. So it's
One other-
moving.
One other
It's-
question is the middle school and the high school, the water tested for the health department each month?
Yes. Yep, that was
Because-
actually, that question was asked, I think at the last meeting or the meeting before, right? Right, and I think that they said it was tested. It's tested every month, right?
And as far as students there, they get to consume the water? There's no problem with drinking it, right?
No. As
Okay.
a matter of fact, I thought they said that the water quality in two of the wells was very good, so
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
If anyone on Zoom wants to make a comment, please hit the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen or hidden behind the more button.
Okay, if there's no other public comment, we are going to move on to new business. The first agenda item under new business is a discussion. It's really just a discussion about the curriculum director. I know that there's been some questions about how the position initially was funded and how we're going to fund it moving forward. So I don't know if we want to give a status of where this is or do we want to just open it up for questions to the committee first and then Lori can respond.
I don't think I followed you. So you want to know if we've got questions for Lori about this position?
Getting questions about it from the committee members. And I've had, there's been some discussions about this at previous meetings. I think the last meeting it was taken down. I think there's this serious discussions about funding beyond ESSER, and I think we've talked about that, the sustainability of ESSER services anyway. So I don't want any one committee member, including myself, driving this. So I want to bring it to the committee. I want to hear from our superintendent. And I know, Colleen, you had a lot of questions about it all along, even when we first established it. You had expressed concerns about it. So I just said, let's get it on the agenda. And then people can come forward with any questions that they might have.
So
And then you can then.
I don't know,
talk to us
Lori-
about-
does Lori want to speak to it first and then we can possibly ask questions? It's completely. Um. And I know it was, I believe it was our last school committee meeting, and I can't remember, it was, the position was posted, then it wasn't posted, there was changes. So the position is still posted, is that correct?
Correct.
So, and the position is posted as a regular position.
It's posted as a grant-funded position.
So when someone actually sent to me the position, and I went on School Spring and looked. So I saw nowhere in that it was grant funded. There was a math interventionalist that was posted for the district that was put down, and it says right
Same
on it,
posting we posted for Dana, correct?
grant funded.
It-
But did that one have grant funded?
It did.
And it's maybe something I missed. I'm not, someone had brought it to my attention and I
Yep.
looked quickly. I don't have need to be on School Spring much.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So maybe it was posted in such a way
It's the
that
same posting that we used when we posted it when Dana applied for it and we appointed Dana to the position. We just reactivated it. So it's the same posting. It is a grant funded position through ESSA through 2024.
So, and that's part of what that is the plan. And I had said this, and and we have those monies to make for those particular reasons.
Right.
And I know, and we keep saying Dana, because Dana was the person that actually, right,
Right,
so, but it has nothing
right.
to do with Dana.
Right.
And Dana moved to another position, so it has nothing, but, so the committee didn't know that part and parcel was a piece of the problem. We didn't know that position was coming. And I know we had talked about it and you had said that you didn't need the approval, I don't want to use the word approval, of the school committee because it was grant funded, because that's outside of our budget.
So when Dana reviewed the ESSER 3 grant with the committee, that position was in there. It was there from the beginning, from the time we wrote the ESSER 3 grant. So that was reviewed as part of the ESSER 3 grant with the committee. So when Dana left the position, I just reposted it because, as I would with any position that is filled, gets vacated, we refill it, right? Unless we're eliminating it.
So I'm gonna cut to the chase. And it's not it's kind of a public perception piece, right? And
Sure.
this is not a reflection so I'm tired of, this is why I think it's important for us to have this discussion. I'm tired of the comments throughout the town of us being top heavy.
Yeah.
I think at one point we were very top heavy. And I think we've made strides to move from that.
Mhm.
So when this director of curriculum, I think I want to use the right verbiage,
Sure.
came up, it was, oh, this position's back. So, and I spoke to this numerous times at meetings. Okay,
Yep.
what's our exit plan? What's our exit plan? Because we need an exit plan. If we're paying, I don't know what the salary is for this position, and I don't know what, when those monies are gone, I don't know that our budget has the ability to absorb what that position is, and with bennies and everything else that goes along with it. And then the bigger piece of that is, so how do we put something in place and then take it away? Oh, correct.
Right.
But particularly
There
when
are a
it's,
number of positions
Yep.
in ESSA.
yep, but this is a district-wide position, right? So, and what is the goal moving forward? Like, is it to, so we're, believe it or not, we're in January of 2023 already.
Mhm.
So, you know, where are we? What's the plan? I think part of my concern was I saw it as a non-grant funded position posted. That certainly gave rise to me, and I could have made a mistake, and
Yep.
it's quite possibly.
Yep. She is.
And I hope I did. Because I certainly I don't think it's fair to. Exactly, and nor do I think it's fair, again, so not only to the people up there, but certainly if I'm a taxpayer scrolling, oh my God, another one of those people, they're getting another of those people. So I think as a committee, we need to focus on what the goal is moving forward, because we've already come a significant amount of way through this ESSER funding already. You're saying it's funded through,
2024.
okay, so we're 2023, so we're
Yep.
like, if this was a 3-year position, we're like well into a year and somewhat into it, and we haven't had the position. I mean, there's been a
Well,
lot
we
of,
had the position. We lost the
Yeah.
position. That's why it's kind of, I'm kind of anxious to get the position filled so we can get the work going.
okay, so.
But the thing is though, you have to figure out I think we do need to.
Microphone.
Sorry. I think we do need to, I think it's fair to any candidate coming and applying for this position, to really understand that there is no plan after 2024 at this time to extend it. Now, I understand, and I think we got a communication from our administrators that this is important. I think even the previous superintendent recognized that there needed to be additional support for some type of curriculum or teaching and learning. I think at the time it was part-time, but then, you know, you said it needs to be full-time, and I think we're hearing that from the administrators. So I just think I wanted to see, like, what is your thoughts about putting up a position? My opinion too is, let me just say one thing that came out. Okay. I do want to, and I talked to you, Lori, about this. I am concerned about this, of where our curriculum is, and it might not be any type of a reason to be concerned. However, when we've got a lot of rhetoric coming up to public comment about this is the third curriculum, and I know, and I'm sure the committee knows, that when you buy curriculum, it is not cheap because you buy all the instructional materials. Oh, and then let's layer in all of the professional development to help teachers understand how to deliver that. How much money have we wasted? Did we waste any money? It's like, to me, it needs to be like an assessment of where we are with all of the investments that we made. Like, we bought this is where it is, these are the grade levels, this is the fidelity that it's been, like, actually understand, is it being delivered with fidelity in the classrooms? How many times do you get curriculum and half the teachers are still going off in some of these other districts, not ours, I hope, and doing what they plan to do? So it's more of a return on investment. It's a protection of our taxpayer dollars. And so I was hoping that we could get some type of a benchmark on where we are, a direction on where we want to go, bring in a full-time curriculum coordinator. But before we bring them in, if the plan is to keep this position long-term, when do we budget for it? How do we budget for it? And how do we make sure that it's sustained? So this is a resource. And I want to just say one more thing, okay?
Yeah.
Hold your horses.
Okay.
This committee has been, and Erica, even when as chair, we're also an advocate for teaching and learning. We put in an additional position in our middle and high school. The assistant principal is in a teaching and learning position. What has happened with that curriculum work? It's like, I don't understand it all. We've put hundreds and hundreds, and I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars into teaching and learning and curriculum. And I don't know if there's a report out. Mike, I don't know if you want to come up and say, but what did she do when she was here? And can I say something, Michael? That is one of the most important positions that we have to hold sacred. I'm not questioning that. I'm asking about in the bigger picture of curriculum work. How is that being coordinated? How did they work with the last curriculum director? Like, how does it all fit together? And that's what I was trying to see, whether or not we could get our arms around that. And so for me, based on all of the money that's been invested, I wanted just to see if we could get a report back on that investment back to the committee. And then figure out with the recommendations on how to move forward immediately. It might be, let's get going on the posting. Let's see if we can see if there's somebody good out there.
I'd like to put a committee together to review the applicants, to see if there is a candidate and fill that position as soon as possible. So we can do just that, Carolyn. Begin to report out to the committee the work and the progress that is being done around curriculum and around teaching and learning. But until we fill that position, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to get you that information and
I don't see any other strategy that can be used besides moving very fast to hire a position in January for curriculum. Somebody doesn't know our district. Somebody doesn't understand the curriculum that we've already purchased. And you think that's the best decision at this time?
Yeah, I think hiring a full-time curriculum director is the best.
And is that the only solution that you can see that's out there right now?
Yes.
You said you have applicants
Yes.
and you feel like you've got some strong applicants.
Yes.
Normally, when you hire a curriculum director, like who do you see in this committee? Would that bog down the process, or would you rather? I mean, it's up to you. You do all the
understand that
hiring.
Question.
You said you'd like to put a committee together to
I
review the
would put a
applicants.
committee of administrators.
Gotcha.
Yeah, administrators together to do the first round of interviews,
I
like
see.
I do
Yep.
with all positions like this.
I remember at one point in time when this position came open, and we all knew when we supported this position that it was only with ESSA grant funds, and it
Yes.
was with the hope that we could move the needle with this position and then maybe see what we could do when the time came up, when the grant was done, whatever that looks like. We've gotten very creative in this district. So I think, and I read the letter from the administrators, and I see that they strongly say that they need a full-time curriculum director. I read the job description and it's quite extensive. If we can get someone in and get them in fast, and if they have experience and they're talented, then I think we could benefit from that sooner
Quite
rather than
honestly,
later.
I think curriculum directors are far and few in between. I think it's almost like a miracle to find someone. You may find someone that worked in another district, even at RIDE. They don't have the deep understanding of a curriculum director. That's my experience working at RIDE, understanding what a shortage there was. So if I know a guy that used to work here and, I'm not sure if that's the best way to hire somebody. I mean, I'm worried about it. you know, we hired Dana to step in to be curriculum director. Okay, and I think she's a good worker, and I'm so glad she's here with us in our middle school. But what credentials did Dana have in curriculum, especially in the middle and the at the
Madam,
secondary
Madam Chair,
level?
I'm just gonna ask that we refrain from talking about particular
Thank you,
individuals.
but
Thank you.
she mentioned her, that's why.
No, I understand.
Thank you. So I don't even know what work was done during that period. I seem to think that based on some of the responses from the old curriculum director, that there seems to be that there was something, there was some bright lights there, and but I'm very hesitant about those applicants.
I mean, the problem is we're in a dilemma because listening to the administration, we need it. However, I understand your situation, Caroline. Is there someone who's going to be qualified to push in the middle of the year to push the calendar or the students forward with the curriculum? I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, where do we go from here?
It sounds like the superintendent puts together a committee, and if they find a strong applicant, then they know they would put that person forward. And if they don't find a strong applicant, then they either repost or go to Plan B.
Have you had any other ideas about what we could do with this curriculum position?
I am not in education. I hired a superintendent to do the superintendent's job.
Anybody else about the ideas of what to do with this position?
I don't follow.
Have you had any discussions about other alternatives on what way we could go with this position with anyone?
I can tell you that I have to trust the superintendent that we hired. And if this is the path that the superintendent wants to go down, and with the support of her administration, then I can only say, let's follow what she says.
Okay,
I just-
anybody other questions on?
I
this
just
issue?
want to go back, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. So if we're talking about going in that direction, I am on School Spring right now. And nowhere in this, it was a posting that was done on November 22nd. I have Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And I've read, unless I'm missing something, and again, I've been known to do that. I see nowhere in this job posting. I don't have access to anything other than what the public would have access to. And I see nothing on here that says grant funded. When I had looked earlier in the week, I don't see it now, but there was a math interventionist posted. And right on the heading, when you're scrolling through, it says grant funded. So the applicants that you've received, I'm wondering if they realize that this would be because that's the only way that this position could proceed
Absolutely.
as grant funded.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this position, I mean, we can go back and
So why
forth.
don't we repost it?
I would never bring people forward without being very clear with them that it's an ESSER funded position.
And I'm
I
not
wouldn't do
saying that you personally wouldn't, but if I was Joe Q Public and applying for this job.
Yep.
And it said, I know Rhode Island's small, so
Yep.
maybe that there's a difference there, but it says Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And it
It does not. Oh, the internet.
I hope I'm wrong. I do. I just don't see anything. I'm looking at it through a public.
It doesn't say.
Then it needs to be reposted then. Because that needs to be clear.
And I know that we can do everything. We've gotten notification of a 15% increase in our transportation contract. That's $170,000. One fully loaded administrator is 130,000. That's 130,000 is a 1% increase. I don't know. We have to figure it out. We have to finish the budget, and we have to figure out, what's sunsetting and what we're doing. So there's a lot of costs that are popping up, and so we have to look at the whole thing. But
I've got a question.
Personally, I just want to say one thing, Erica.
Mm.
I'm in favor of curriculum director. I just want to say that publicly. I think it's an important position. I think you need somebody to pull that assistant superintendent in, the elementary principals, our high school principal. I think you need that hub for teaching and learning. I'm just very, very worried about the funding of it. And I talked to Lori tonight too. And, you know, remember when and I don't know if it was Larry, but when we eliminated the middle school team, he said at some point, because of the NASDAQ data, we may have to eventually rehire that team. So Lori and I were just talking about it tonight. So there's a lot of different things going on. So when we say yes to this, and it's going to be about priorities, right? We just have to make sure that it's doable. That's all.
So I would not bring it forward unless I had recommendations to this committee for, you're talking at the end of 2024, right? I just want to make sure we're all talking about the same time frame, right? So
I think it's actually September 30th of 24. So it's not the full year. It's a federal grant.
at this point in time, at this point in
Maybe,
time,
yeah.
right? I would not come forward to this committee without data and evidence that there's been a positive impact and exactly what that looks like and recommendations around funding. I would not do that. So when we get closer to that, if I don't have data that shows that that's been effective, and I don't have recommendations for how to fund that, I won't bring it forward to you. That would be irresponsible of me. So, you know, that's my job as the superintendent that you hired, to put all those ducks in a row. But I need to get the position filled now so that the work can go on, so that we can collect data to say if it's been effective or not.
How many people have applied, if you mind me asking, and has anybody from the school system applied for the position? Internally?
No internal candidates, because they know it is a grant funded position. And so, you know, it is slated to go away in 2024. And that was one of the reasons the previous curriculum director chose to
I'm
move to
interested
another
to see what
position.
candidates would go in for an 18-month position.
24 applicants.
So I've got a question and a statement. Prior to the model that we currently exist, where we do not have an assistant superintendent, our assistant superintendent did the curriculum, was in charge with curriculum. Am I correct about that? That was Mike Salito. He was in charge of
But I
curriculum.
don't think he did like the CRP and
So that brings up.
I think he did.
So
No, finish what you.
So I was just gonna
It's
say,
sharing over
yeah,
there.
yeah, no, right. And without a curriculum director, whose head does this fall on? A lot of it, I think, falls on the principals and you, or just the principals. To Carolyn's point, we need a curriculum director. People who are say we're too top heavy. I'm not sure what they're referencing, but
No, and I just want to speak to this and just to provide a little bit of, when I first came to the district, we had a superintendent, an assistant superintendent, and we had a superintendent consultant. This is 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And then at one point we did not have a business office manager.
Right.
We did not have an HR position. We did not have a dean of students position. So what's been done is, and this sounds like I'm making a case against a curriculum director, and that's not. I think it's history that's important. So again, it's like negotiations. You give up one thing, you get another
Sure.
thing. So it was common knowledge throughout the district that Paul Lesko, who was the former superintendent of schools here for many, many years, really functioned in many capacities. He was a business manager. He was a certified business manager. So he kind of, and So, but, and it's not to go back to other people's, right? So it was him, he was the business manager, and then we had someone else that was doing that was doing the curriculum. And then when, people change, people,
Bring their strengths.
but then when we brought on the previous superintendent, it was, and again, it's not about people, it's about positions and changing. That's kind of, it's just the structure that I'm trying to speak to. So the position of business, I don't know what the word is, finance director. And again, it's nothing, and we're thrilled to have, and it's quite obvious that the people the person that's occupying that job is working a zillion hours and doing it. It's kind of like, oh my God, how did a superintendent do this too? Well, they have, and I think Stephanie would nod her head when she says that she works more than 40 hours every single week so that was taken away. When we most recently added so we had one assistant principal, and I could be using terminology wrong, for the two schools. We added a dean of students position to help at the middle school, high school levels, to be the dean, more focusing on the discipline and the social emotional learning pieces of things with students. And again, not an administrator, because we don't want to be so top heavy, right? So this the position is a teaching position, part of the CBA, but is doing some of those administrative tasks. We brought in our and I know I don't have the verbiage, but for assistant principal for teaching and learning at the middle school, high school level. Now, again, these are newer positions. We haven't, and there's been a lot of whirlwind around. So I don't know that we're getting the full benefits. We just have brand new people in some of these positions. So it's not, but so we're talking 100, 200, 300, 400, like you start adding position. I'm not talking about anybody's salaries, but let's face it, salaries and benefits. We've added positions to fill backs. To kind of balance that out. So to then turn around and say, I remember specifically being at a budget committee meeting, and they're like, what do you need a dean of students for? What do they do? What is that? So we had to go up there and justify this. Because again, this is where our money comes from, right? It's not the town council, but it's the people. They're the ones that are, and we talked about, we sold a bit, I don't want to say, but we believed it. This was what we thought was in the best interest of the school. So for us to then turn around and say, oh, by the way, that didn't really work out. We need to up it by another 100, and it puts us in a difficult position. Does that make sense?
So
On our shared microphone?
Yeah. It's also my understanding that the assistant principal of teaching and learning is for the middle school, high school, or just a high school, where the curriculum director is for the department.
It's for the district.
We've been informed by John Anderson that we're not a district.
School department.
Yes. I'm trying to retrain myself. And also that curriculum, it's my understanding, has changed dramatically, which is why these things are needed. And by the way, we're, this town needs an HR person desperately. Otherwise, we're just a step away from being sued as we.
have 90. I don't think we can.
Correct. I'm not saying,
yeah, no,
I'm not saying we do either, but it's also, it makes me think of the town council itself. Like we need a town manager. It's like,
Yeah.
we need to start moving forward. And it's also my understanding that it's a very common and well, it's a good model to have a dean of students and assistant principal of teaching and learning. It was my understanding that a lot of districts and departments have gone that way because it is a successful.
Right.
So
it's
it's
the
a desirable model.
And I don't,
I know you,
yeah.
I'm not arguing with you,
Okay,
and
good.
I know you're not arguing with me, all right. I know. So I'm kind of, I think we're both
Yeah.
talking so that the community can
Yeah.
hear and understand why these monies have been spent thus far. And I don't know if you know something I don't, that the assistant principal of teaching and learning hasn't worked. I'm not,
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's, I want to be clear that I don't think that,
okay.
I don't, I just think, I just
I have
know.
no idea I feel like that position is critical to our middle school. Sorry.
I don't understand what's happening as far as the actual work that's happening with that position, but I feel like the way it's been envisioned, it's critical to help us support the achievement of our middle school students and our high school students as well. So I think that was always the intent, is to, like, we purchase the curriculum, let's get some support. And I think that's how we even talked to our budget committee about it. We need this because we need to protect our investment. So this assistant principal can go in and assure that the curriculum that we're buying is being adopted and delivered in every single classroom to every single student.
Because
But,
curriculum
but
today is
again, like
different.
Mike mentioned, we've had some turnover there, and I think, I'm not sure what the skill sets of maybe the last one was, if they gravitated towards that. I don't know. That's what I'm saying, why I wanted a full blown assessment before we went with a full-time director of curriculum to
Can I
kind of
put us
hit the
on a timeout for a
reset
second?
button.
For a second, I want to pivot for a second, if we may. This was supposed to be a short meeting, but I guess, I'm teasing. I think the one thing that was established tonight, and I think this is a bigger conversation, I think the most important thing that was established was that this, but this is a grant funded position. So again, I know you said there were 22 applicants. I have to guess that, and I don't know that, and I'm not saying you were trying to deceive anybody. It's my understanding that you put it out there as a grant funded position.
Correct.
Are there still 22 applicants after they realize it's a grant funded position? I don't know. But as a committee, we're very clear that this point in time, this is a grant funded position. So I think that's been established, that this is where, at this moment in time. Because if not, we'd be having to work it into our budget process,
Right.
which we're absolutely not
Not
going
doing,
there,
right.
not happening. So I think, this discussion of whether we need this in 2024 and beyond might be a little premature, as long as we're all on the same page that this is not a permanent position. And I think the other piece that I'm hearing is we have this other newer position of assistant principal of teaching and learning.
I think it's your turn.
And is,
That's
no,
not
no,
her.
and
That's Caitlin from Northwest.
it's just, this person has just been like, they're just here, right? So we can't say what the rim of the full effect of that position is if it's been somebody who's just come to our district.
I think we need to repost it to see how many applicants are going to drop.
For the director of curriculum. Okay, I think that's a good place to go to.
In the reposting is, Patty, you realize that it didn't say it was grant funded? Oh.
Which is why you didn't get any.
And you got a lot externally.
So moving forward, I will post it and ensure that it is listed as a grant funded position through 2024. I will put a committee together to do the interviews and fill that position. Is that the understanding? Leaving here this evening.
I don't know that we're not,
Yeah.
it's a discussion.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
the
my
position's been
understanding.
filled in the past, so
That's my understanding.
I'm not in favor of the way it's going forward, but that's the way you want to move.
I mean, if
Okay,
it's gonna
so-
be a
Matt.
grant position,
Sean?
Yeah, so just to make clear, on the agenda item here, you do have the authority to vote. The superintendent is looking for direction as it relates to whether or not she's moving.
I don't want to
forward.
call a vote.
You don't want to call a vote?
No.
Okay, so then that
Can
presents.
another committee member call a vote?
Well, you personally don't want to call a vote. Okay, I misunderstood what your comments were. Certainly, any person can move to give direction to the superintendent.
I
So
don't
she
think,
just has some guidance.
I don't think it's appropriate for us to vote on this. Am I wrong about that? I don't think it's appropriate for us to have the superintendent repost a position that has already been approved of. Like doesn't that kind of violate or wouldn't that have us be way out of our lane in terms of Title 16? And in our role as school committee members, am I wrong about that, Sean?
I think that when I've tried not to, I don't overrule our superintendent, I'm with you 100%, but we certainly can have an opinion and a recommendation on how it should go forward. And I think that's why it should just be a discussion. Right?
I agree with you, Carolyn.
If the committee would like to have just an informal recommendation, but I think the superintendent is just looking for guidance. So
I think there's
There's
been
not-
enough discussion, so she understands what each of our positions are.
well, I'll leave that
Unless
to the
somebody wants
superin-
to,
I'll leave that to the
unless
superintendent.
Colleen, or if somebody wants to make a motion about it.
Comment would be the fact that this was a position that was filled before. It was grant funded. It was vacated. And as you said before, any other positions that have been vacated, you repost and refill. So is it not following that same criteria?
It is, it's exactly that.
So-
It's just like we're expressing whether or not we support that, or if we wanted to go in a different direction. And so
So-
she can do whatever she wants because we
Right,
don't have
because so
her
Lori, in
approval.
the past, if you have not got the permission of the school committee to refill a position,
Mhm.
then
right.
I'm not sure why you're asking us permissions now. It is grant funded,
I'm
so I
just-
would just
I
get
don't think she
clarity.
did. I think Sean jumped.
Yeah,
in. I don't know.
so-
Sean, what do you?
I think
looking
we
for
just
from
need
the
clarity
committee?
to all those applicants that it is grant
I was,
funded.
what I'm trying to do is the superintendent
That
was
will be
looking for
clear.
guidance. It doesn't need to come in the form of a vote. Okay, but if there seems to be some discussion about whether or not this was something that the direction the school committee wanted to go in, and the superintendent's looking for guidance. So and it
So
seems
my guidance is that we should go with get someone in here that is, known for their expertise in curriculum, and do an assessment on where we are with curriculum, who understands it. That's my guidance. I don't know how anybody else feels. But that's just me.
Okay.
Colleen, do you know if you have any thoughts?
I
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
The
I thought she was.
no.
the shared mic.
But
Carmen-
you can certainly go first.
I totally think that if you're comfortable with posting this and getting a committee together and doing, then I support that. Exactly.
Support the fact that you get a committee together and choose the candidate your committee feels is appropriate.
No, I agree as well. I mean, honestly, if we only have 1 year left in this grant, the longer we wait, the less time we're gonna be able to even use this person. So I would say put the committee together, especially as the administration definitely wants to have one, and we need one. I mean, I would go forward, get the committee and go from there.
Okay.
I mean, it's gonna be very interesting to see, once you put out grant funding, the response you're gonna get.
Correct.
I read, go ahead. I'm sorry, Colleen.
No, please say what you're going to say.
It's one-time funding, and I think I don't understand who would even come forward with an 18-month position here. It's one-time funding. Let's hit the reset button and find out what's happened to the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've spent. And I have been asking. I've asked multiple times, and I'm still not clear about where we are. I can tell you one thing. I mean, we've got a ways to go with our achievement scores. And we've made tons of money, and I know that we've had COVID, and there's a lot of other things that have happened to education statewide, but I'm just concerned about the investments that we made, where that investment is, and how best to move forward with it. That's all. That's my position. And I think there's resources out there that are amazing that can come in here and help us with that assessment.
Would those resources be somebody that is going to apply for a 1 year grant funded 18-month position? I'm just trying to figure out, like, because I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm trying to hear everybody, and
It depends on the resource, I guess. I mean, sometimes, it depends on what their availability is, if they're consultants versus employees. I mean, it depends.
Are we, so, and that's probably a question to ask. Are we better looking at, so again, we've already gone through how many months of this? And we have not had significant results for a multitude of reasons. I'm not gonna pinpoint it to anybody. How do we best, we have to move forward thinking. But as far as having, so we need to move forward. How do we take a short amount of time and get the maximum amount of results? So whether it's paying, and so here's just if we have to bring someone in full time to take, I think it's going to be different.
That might be part of the assessment. Like, let them come in, let them mentor the person.
And that, so, but again, if we have a finite amount of time is what I'm viewing at, because we have to view that we don't have the capacity to continue to fill this position. Yeah. So how do we do and I think, again, I think part of a problem would be that if there were 22 applicants for this, that I doubt we're going to get a seasoned curriculum director that's going to want to leave a staff. I'm just hypothetically speaking, looking
No,
at
I
a job
agree.
market to say, oh, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being
Plus,
here.
if you have something that could be a concrete report, you can then take it to the council. You can take it to the budget committee. You can say that this is where the investment
But
is.
how much
This
more
is where-
time, how much more time can we waste? I think is what I'm saying.
Well, I think
And I'm
that's
not
a better investment of our money.
Yeah, no, and I'm playing two sides, so.
But we're not spending any money here right now, Caroline. This is a grant funded position.
Well, it's money, but because if we're not
I
spending it,
understand that,
if we're
but
not
out of
spending
our
it
pocket.
for that, we could be spending it for math interventionalists or for this. So there's other ways to spend this money that aren't just particularly delineated to a full-time person. Am I correct in stating that? I don't know if I am.
Yes, you are correct in stating that. And we have some of those positions in ESSER additionally.
Yes.
Social worker, a math interventionist, those are also in ESSER. And we're going to have the same conversations about those positions at the end of ESSER. You know, do we have a plan? Do we need to continue? Do we have a plan for that or not? Right?
Is the math specialist the one that's just been posted recently?
Yes,
Because
Caitlin.
that's already in the budget,
No,
We're going
this is an
sideways.
Additional
an
one.
additional
Bring
one.
it back, reel it in, girls. So again, I think there's a fine line as far as we're the governing body. We can't say you do this, you do that. I think the biggest concern that personally I had with all of this from the beginning, first of that this job that it wasn't posted as grant funded. So that is, I was taken aback, and I've told you this, and I've said it many times in these meetings. I was taken aback in the way that position was filled the first time. And that again, if it was in the grant funding, it wasn't specifically stated to us that we were hiring somebody that was going to be on the title head of all our things, saying this is the director. But again, I spoke because again, I'm about the Empowerment Act. I'm about bringing the decisions down here. However, as we're in charge of the budget. We're in charge of but when you said, no, I didn't need to necessarily get your approval. And I'm not saying it flippantly.
No,
I'm just saying it's like, this is grant funded. This is how it was done. So that's my concern. I want to be clear and transparent with everybody. I was taken aback of it. And again, I'm not fighting against this. I think it's really important to know that, especially if it's something that our principals need, and but what is the best resource for them? I don't know the answer to that. So that's a lot of talking about now.
So good luck.
thanks. Thanks for all that.
So the next agenda item I'm sorry. The next agenda item is discussion action vote for school committee selection of the committee to negotiate Situate Education's support personnel for any SRI and NEA. Do I have a motion to establish a negotiating committee to include Colleen Pendergast and Colleen Rose?
Can I just ask a clarifying question? I don't know, and I'm happy to take a vote, and I'll be happy to do it. I'm sure Erica will be happy to do it if it's a negotiation committee. She doesn't need to be on for a minute. It's my understanding, and if I remember the bylaws correctly, it's generally the I don't want to use the word. of the chair. It's that can appoint to all committees. Do we need a vote on that, or is it for the
Sean?
chair to just appoint to this?
I don't have the bylaws in front of me. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
But to the extent, so I can't comment on that piece. Again, you have the ability to vote
It's not
based
gonna
on this
hurt anything to
agenda.
take a
It's not going to hurt anything. If someone has an objection, then you'd have to table this, look at the bylaws, and so I don't think that we could get an answer for you, and moving forward, we could.
I make a motion to vote for Colleen Pendergast and Colleen Rose to be on the school committee selection to negotiate for the Citrus Education Support Personnel NEA SRI NEA.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. We have, let me just, I don't know whether or not, the program of studies, Michael, where are you? That might be a pretty lengthy agenda item. Did we want to take the, new business, item number 4 out of order? How do you feel about that? Do you want to,
Is that going to be quick as well?
I think it might,
So
that might be quick, but I think I have some questions for you, Mike, not a lot of them, just we'll go
You
right
mind
to
if
the
we
page.
jump, but you're here anyway. So I make a motion to take out of order, under new business F4, discussion action vote ratification of a Northwest Special Education Collaborative Agreement.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
I should have did that like when I first got to new business. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I'm sure you found this curriculum director stuff really important and interesting. Yes, I understand. I do want to just mention that I had an opportunity to work with John Magnus replacement, Brad Wilson. He is so, I'm sorry, as I get older, you may have to be like this in the back of my head. What he is very impressive. He's so good, and I'm so happy that we have him in our district. And John, he had some pretty big shoes to fill, with John leaving, but I really enjoyed working with him, and I found him extremely knowledgeable. And I was really happy to hear him say that his initial assessment is that our kids are getting services. It's always kind of been gnawing at me. And it's like, are they getting everything that they need? And he goes, oh, yes. He goes, they're getting served very well. So it made me feel like reassured about that. So tonight we're going to have a discussion action vote on the ratification of the Northwest Special Education Regional Collaborative Agreement. I don't know if anybody has any type, you want to go with the vote, the second and discussion like we typically do?
It doesn't matter. You can either do a vote, second discussion, or do discussion and then vote.
Let's do discussion first.
So I'm surprised to see this on the agenda after last month when we had agreed to hire Barton and Gilman. So can you tell us?
Because you're talking about
That's the
Am I
the
talking-
Northern Rhode Island
that's the Northern
Collaborative.
Rhode Island Collaborative.
Yes, this is
is-
Northwest Regional
This is our special
This is our special
education
ed
regional
programming.
Programming.
I know, it's very confusing. These educators and this stuff,
Yeah.
I know. They're trying.
This is the same agreement that you have signed every year.
The Northern Collaborative, they actually have a special education service, and I think we've had a student there
Yes.
in and out, a couple
Right.
of them in and out. But this
John
is a
Max-
very
John-
different
Brand.
thing.
Yes, yeah. It's good. Well, I would like to, to pick, to maybe. Um. And part of the reason maybe why Erica could have got confused, because it's very similarly termed. But there's also no documentation in our packets. There's nothing in here.
They didn't get the agreement?
So again, how do we vote on, I can't vote on anything, even if it's the same thing that we've signed.
Right.
We've talked about this, and I would like to hear you speak if you have something to say to us, because obviously you've sat here for a long time. But I saw nothing in our packets to review.
You're right.
I can't,
I thought it would have been it should have been in your packet.
It's
Colleen.
not.
Absolutely.
And this. And so it's,
So let me ask a question.
but
Since
please-
she's been here all night, can we actually, were you just going to field questions from us tonight?
Come on. Come
Come
on,
on
Kyle.
up
Do you
to
want to
our
come up and say hi quick?
microphone.
Mr. Hassel can wait.
I'm Kyle Santos. Oh, sorry, I'm short. I'm the Assistant Special Ed Director for the Northwest Region. So I did not have anything specific prepared today. I'm here, just representing, Northwest Special
Okay,
Ed Region.
because I think we're gonna have to table this agenda item. I'm so sorry.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. I'm not sure what happened with the packet situation.
Yeah.
So I certainly, we can absolutely
Is
come
is
again.
us not signing something tonight going
What's
to
the
impede
deadline?
our arrangement or anything that you guys are doing in any way if we wait till next week to sign it?
No,
That you're aware of?
no, and not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
We,
And it's not that we're being difficult. Please understand. I know you're kind of new to us and it's just, we're a public body. So if we're voting on something, we really need the opportunity to, and not that we
Absolutely.
think you're trying to slip it.
no.
So it's certainly not a you issue. It's an us
Sure.
issue.
Do you know when the deadline is for us to get this ratified or approved by the school committee?
So it's not, I mean, we don't have a specific, this is typically the annual time that we do this. So last year we did have you all ratified it in that one of the December school committee meetings. So we like to stick to that annual date because we want to make sure that everything is,
Mhm.
you know, is set up and lined up. We do that for all of the
So-
communities in the region. So the Foster
So
Gloucester region. and-
If we have a meeting next week, but
Sure.
the agenda is getting pretty long. And so would it be okay if we brought it back at the February meeting?
So I don't know that if it's and I'm just, and not to, if it's a matter of an agreement that it's something that we've been a partner with Northwest for a number of
weeks.
for a number of years. And I know you guys, previous directors have come and given us reports on an annual basis of this is where your money's being spent. This is what's going. I think it could be. And I don't want to be obstinate, but in due diligence, I can't.
Okay,
ask
why
you.
don't,
I
why
know,
don't
I
I
understand.
put it on
We'll
for next
definitely
Tuesday?
get it.
And
the
to my
written
understanding,
in
there
your
is,
packet.
other than just updated proportional
now.
information, there are no changes to the historical agreement, but if you have any questions, and that's certainly fine.
And my understanding and some of the, for the newer members maybe, and I don't know if it's actually in the contract or not. So this is a collaboration between us, Foster, Gloucester,
Gloucester.
and Ponegantsit,
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
as a mix. And we all pay, so it's, well, you've been around, yeah. I don't mean in that sense, but, and then a lot of, on a yearly basis, who contributes what is based upon the percentage, the student
Student
number
enrollment.
and the percentage of. So
Yes.
that's the only thing that deviates or changes, right? And it
Right.
is based on what our population needs. are.
Yes.
So what we're going to do,
Nice to meet you, but I think you've been here, I don't know, if
I'm usually quiet. I don't
Yeah.
say much.
not tonight, you know.
Well,
Kyle.
tonight you've been the assistant principal of the high school and you're
I
the assistant.
I
at
serve many
Northwest, so,
roles, yeah.
But we're gonna put this back on the agenda next Tuesday.
Okay.
Patty's sending out another packet for that meeting on Friday, so you
Sure.
have enough
And
time.
I'd like to speak for the committee if I can say we can give you a pass that you don't need to be here. And you're not, it's not that you're not welcome to come. Please don't ever feel that, but this is on us that you've sat here all evening.
No, it's
So
fine.
please, by all means, I think if we have questions,
We can actually ask them over the weekend on Monday and get them to Lori.
And I'll
so-
get
if
you
anything.
answers.
Yeah,
that's-
Sure, if
and
there's,
Lori,
if
you'll
there's
be able
anything
to
we can
handle
answer
that.
or provide between now and then, please let us know.
Yeah.
Or if you feel that it would be helpful for us for
Yeah,
myself
no.
or Brad or both of us to be here,
Sure.
we can.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to table this agenda item?
I make a motion to table.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, Michael Hassel, our high school principal is going to come up and talk to us about high school program of studies.
And that was in your packet.
That was in the
Yes,
packet. It
yes.
was really helpful and I
Oh,
really loved going through that. Yeah, it was good.
All right, thank you, everyone, for the opportunity. Welcome to our new school committee member, Colleen. Welcome to the party.
Mike, if you don't mind, when you refer to her, if you could say Colleen with 2 L's. So- No, I'm just. I'm teasing.
We just call you OG. So this is my 7th program of study at Situate High School that I've presented to the school committee. And this should be the shortest, least edited program of studies that I've ever presented to you. No, so about 4 years ago, we added 40 newer modified courses to the program of studies. We worked with students, parents, and teachers. We had three lenses that we used to modify those courses, and they were really looking at how to prepare our kids for college and career, how to make our courses interest driven. So there was a lot of student voice in that process, and then how to increase the rigor. And a lot of that work was aligned to the new curriculum work that we had, the Agile Mind curriculum, and now Springboard as our ELA, which is aligned to College Board. So kind of the past information is that we've done a lot of work, and we're super proud of the program offerings that we have here at Situate. Speaking with my colleagues throughout the state, we have a pretty unique offering of courses here. The comment that I hear a lot when I'm giving CTE tours or just tours to families that I gave a tour to an 8th grader who lives in Situate, has gone to Catholic private school his whole career, and wants to come to Situate High School next year. Dad's owns his own landscaping business, and he said some Situate residents, his clients of his, said, "Why are you paying money to go to a private school? You need to come to Situate High School." So I gave him a tour last year, and what I hear a lot is, I wish they had these kind of courses when I was here, and I feel the same way. So we're really proud of the program of studies. As you saw in your packet, there are not many edits. The one course that we're proposing that's new is actually new old. We're proposing to bring back Spanish 5. This is a good thing. About 4 years ago, the district decided to bring 8th grade Spanish 1, and now last year French 1 to the 8th grade. So it's a high school curriculum that we're following. Those 8th graders are following that high school scope and sequence. We hope to, in the future, actually start having conversations around counting that towards potential high school credit, knowing it's a high school course. There's a lot.
Can I jump on
Sure.
that for a second? I'm
Yep.
just thinking, because it was either Moore's year or the year before. And if I remember correctly, we were so excited because they could take it. And the previous principal at the middle school said, let's try it. What's good? They had so many kids, there was like a lottery to get into
Yeah.
it. So we have a lot of kids,
Yep.
and I'm assuming that's moving forward, right? So
It is. So we're there now. So
Yeah,
working with Leslie Langus, our high school world language department chair, she brought this to me and said, we're ready. We've got about 20 kids who potentially could sign up for this next year. So we figured let's add it back to the program of studies, see how many kids sign up for it, and potentially run it. So I believe that's the only new course that we're proposing within this program of studies. The other major change that you will see is, and there was some communication from me in the newsletter, I'm starting to bring parents and students and teachers to the table to talk about advisory next year. Since I've been here, we have not offered an advisory program. It's a requirement by the state. In previous years, Situate High School has said that so the core of advisory is that students build a positive relationship with at least one adult in the building. We offer clubs, and our students certainly build positive relationships with the adults there, but it's more than that. The advisory program is really a vehicle to deliver the social emotional learning curriculum. It's a vehicle to use Naviance, which is an online platform 6 through 12 that we use to develop the ILP. The ILP is the individualized learning plan. So counselors come in, they push into that advisory program, they talk about career choices, they document it all. And moving forward with the new proposed graduation requirement changes starting with the class of 2027, that ILP document is going to be a really, really important document as far as potential waivers of families saying, I'm going to waive this course. It's going to be driven by that ILP process. So we will have an advisory program next year. We're still kind of working out the kinks of what that looks like. The good news is every other high school in New England pretty much does this. So there's a lot of models out there.
So I think we did have one at one point, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
And
Not since I've been in this position.
no,
Yeah. But there was an advisory here years ago.
Advisory has been, and it was said it was so good for kids. I could never understand why they took advisory away.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that was one of my comments, Mike. I was so happy to see that back in the program of studies.
Yeah.
downside of that is, Mr. Hassel.
Right. So I'm not saying no clubs, but we are in the program of studies. You did see that I did strike out the clubs during the day. We are looking at opportunities potentially to run things like SAD Club, our student council, who has an awesome voice and participates in our school improvement team as well. So we're looking at some of those bigger clubs and seeing how we can still offer those to kids, knowing that there's athletics after school. We're looking at before school options for next year as well. The other piece of the program of studies to note is that we have 3, we call them clubs, but they really have evolved, and working with Superintendent Andrews and working with the state CTE board, we offer 3 CTSOs. The CTSOs are career and technical student organizations. They really are curricular. They are not co-curricular. They're not extracurricular. So next year, we're hoping to offer elective credits for kids to take those. So HOSA is our biomedical arm. DECA is the finance and entrepreneurship arm, and TSA is the Technology Student Association that's aligned to engineering and computer science.
And it's really project-based learning is what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kids should be getting credit for
Yes,
that work.
So our students will get work-based learning for that, for those hours and the work that they have.
That's the right thing to do.
So I think those are all of the major changes in this proposed edits. Are there any questions?
I know you explained advisory, but it sounded, I didn't quite get my arms around it when I read it. You said it's not a curriculum. Is it, explain it to me again, like I'm a 5th grader. Is it, or maybe 3rd grader? Is it just a space where I know there's an opportunity because you don't have to attend advisory, period?
It would be required. So most schools require students to do it. And the core of it is that it's really the vehicle to roll out the social emotional learning standards, which
So you're assigned a teacher or faculty member.
correct.
And you have to go to that classroom and attend at that time and period, but it can be used for a couple of different.
Sure.
things?
There would be tutorials and videos and exercises and activities that would prompt kids. There would be some group work. There'd be conversations around mental health awareness, around substance abuse. It's again, the social emotional learning standards per ride. It's really the delivery of those standards, which really don't fall systematically anywhere else in the high school. So it's a vehicle for that. But again, it's a push in for guidance to come in, push that curriculum in. And the big piece is that Naviance piece, an opportunity to meet with each kid individually to talk about career goals. We also hope that there's an opportunity to use advisory at some point for some interventions. So if students, maybe it's, again, we're still kind of figuring out what it looks like. We know we're going to have advisory next year, but maybe it's not a complete hour every single week. Maybe it's 30 minutes, and then students could have an opportunity for work-based learning. They could have an opportunity to get those interventions that they might need as well.
Is everybody are all the students going to be getting the same opportunity, like the same thing is going to be happening in each advisory?
That's how most schools operate. Usually there's either an administrator or an advisory coordinator who oversees it and pre-populates lessons for those teachers. And then it's a simple follow this calendar, press this button, show this video, facilitate this conversation.
And you kind of envision that being what you're going to do here?
I think so.
Okay.
All high schools in Rhode Island have advisory, and it really is a great opportunity for kids to connect with one adult and form relationships and address some of those social emotional needs that sometimes get overlooked
I couldn't agree more.
for those quiet kids.
So, and again, so if I support this wholeheartedly. I'm just kind of processing how, kind of like almost shame on us for not having it, but I get it. It was here, it was
Yep,
not,
okay.
we can't fix everything.
Moving forward,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
So, students aren't required to take a club, correct?
They're not. Nope.
So if I'm a non-joiner, if I'm not involved in music, the arts, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, or athletics, I'm probably not going to be one of those kids that is going to join one of those clubs, right? So we could be and I'm not saying,
Yes.
but this sounds like a place where it's the safety net, so we're not missing anybody.
Sure.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for guidance to go into whole classrooms and have conversations about career choices and the Common App and.
Right. Right now, we do that through our English classes.
Yeah.
Because our English teachers are great. The guidance department will say, listen, we're going to take this week. We're going to go into your class and we're going to talk about college and career. You know, that's English curriculum that we're missing and instruction that we're missing. So this is an opportunity for that.
Michael, from what I understand about advisories, it's actually scheduled on their schedule. It's like it's
Oh, yeah.
actually scheduled. It's a
Yep.
class that's on their schedule, so it's.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It'll
not
meet
gonna
at least once a week. And just to update all of you, we're in year 2 of our NEASC accreditation process. That was back in November. The committee was absolutely amazing. It was a really great visit. They told me out loud their kind of things that we need to work on and the goals that we had, which aligned to where we identified that they were the same goals. One of the goals was to have an advisory program. But the item to note that the chair kind of smiled at was that in speaking with our kids and parents, our students feel super connected here. And she kind of said, we don't have an advisory program. You need an advisory program, but your kids feel super connected here.
and you know what, as I'm sitting here saying that about the safety net, and I wholeheartedly support. You're right. We're small enough where these kids, and again, but it's just so our teachers, it doesn't make a difference if these kids aren't in sports and music or this and that. They take English, they take math, but it sounds like it's certainly well needed and whatever. So we may, I'm thinking, get a little bit of pushback if people have become acclimated to certain clubs. And I know they're great, but they're really extracurricular, right?
Yeah. And I think so we're going to be developing a schedule research committee to look at scheduling and look at more opportunities for kids to have classes, especially with the class of 2027 with the new regs and the new requirements, because what I hear parents saying and kids saying, and I agree with this, especially being a former music teacher, is that a student, it's difficult right now in any high school for a kid to maybe fit that art elective into their schedule. And what we've offered them now is, well, at least you could take art club. If you're passionate about art, at least you could take that.
Yep.
So that's what I've been kind of trying to figure out, but we'll get there.
Small district pains, but I think you would agree that whatever the benefit outweighs, right? Like
Sure.
what we're
Absolutely.
Right.
the
Yep.
cost, and hopefully we can find a way we do it
Right.
all, right?
And that advisory block, you're right, Michael, a lot of high schools and middle schools use that block for and maybe just a portion, 20 minutes sometimes of that block as an intervention for a specialist to grab a kid and work on a skill area that they just need to close a little bit of a gap. And that's an opportunity to do that isn't available right now at the high school. It's hard to manage. Right.
So is this happening twice a week? 8?
We don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get a committee. So we have a committee ready to go. We're going to look at some model schools, what they offer, and then hopefully roll it out. We have 2 activity blocks. We need to fit senior project, advisory, and those work-based learning CTSOs on period 8 and period 9 on Tuesday and Thursday. So it'll be if you have this on Tuesday, you'll have your advisory on Thursday, most likely.
Mike, on page 58, it was the prerequisite for algebra 2. They don't need algebra 1. It says it's just geometry. I was just questioning that. It's just a little thing that came up.
Mary would be so proud.
She's here.
My guess
Mary.
is they didn't list algebra 1 because in order to be in geometry, they would have had to take algebra 1.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be sure that that wasn't an oversight.
Sure.
I have two questions. I noticed that you have the math lab and that's primarily for remediation and enhancements, right?
Yeah, we switched to that about 2 years ago. All
Yeah, I
students,
think we talked a little bit about that,
all students will have a certified math teacher for a math lab. That's a ramp up for those students. They're using Khan Academy, which is tied to their SAT
In
and
your opinion,
PSATs.
is it, I've, over the years, even when I was, a special education advocate for students, we had schools that had these math labs and they weren't too effective. Do you find that it's working? And because I know you have new tools yet, like with the technology programs and things like that. How do you feel
Can
about
I jump
that?
on that to be, to, so maybe you can answer two at once? So, and I could be wrong. So the math lab isn't just done at a remedial level.
No, it's for enhancement too.
Yeah, so, because I'm thinking all the kids are getting access to this, right?
They are.
So what I can answer for you is maybe what I've got a little, and you know a lot more than me. The kids, it's working, it's helping.
If it
It's
helps.
the feedback I'm getting from, and these are students who.
You feel that way too, Michael?
Yeah, so the math and E
Yeah.
ELA,
Student
Good from
point
the
of view, it's
parents.
not just them sitting at a computer, they have access, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to speak. But from what the students my own and others have experienced, they have a math teacher, a real life math
Yes.
teacher in them, like a real one, not a fake one, but a
Yeah.
real one.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
it's not just them sitting in front of a computer somewhere. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what my.
it really
experience
was
is.
our answer to tier 2 and tier 3 interventions for kids. So
Yeah.
kids who really need that
Have you
support.
seen the
it-
data move because of that, you think?
We're starting to see it, especially because we're using a program that we purchased called Alex, and it's kind of that video game model of these are the skills that you need to work on, and this is, this is where you're at. So the kids know that we actually had a girl at lunch yesterday who I was sitting with, and the math teacher came over and said, "Are you doing like Alex at lunch?" And she's like, "I'm bored. I've got nothing else to do." So she
Great.
was sitting there during lunch, just doing her Alex math
My
assessment.
understanding is that it's not just like, okay, we're gonna take all the trigonometry kids and put them here. There's different groups of kids in the room at the same time, correct? Like my experience or my students' experience have been
Yeah.
like, so you have different levels and it's kind of, it's right, they're meeting them where they're at.
Yep.
Is that accurate in saying?
It
that?
is.
Like,
And to that point, Colleen, the teachers are able to do some purposeful pairing with kids.
Yeah.
So there might be a strong student who they can pair with another student and do some work together. So the ELA and the math labs have really been a good success. We tweak every year. We're going to continue tweaking and getting it better.
And my second and last question is the same question I ask you every year. How many students are in the ACN program and how are our students doing with accessing higher education credits?
Yeah. We in the work this year with the strategic plan, Lori had asked the principals to supply data. And one of the goals from the former plan was to increase the amount of courses that we offer in this program of studies that give college credit. And I calculated this year, and I'll get the number for you, but it was like we increased by 63% from
Wow, that's
5 years ago of the courses. So Chris actually has it here.
I'm thinking like I go like, if he's doing something.
This page here. So when students will sign up for courses, there's a whole website that I created here. And one of the tabs is the advanced placement and early enrollment courses. These are all of the opportunities that students could take here and get free college credit here.
Fantastic.
And then if we scroll down, thank you, Chris. There's information, and I still have to update this because this isn't public yet, but it brings you to not that, Chris, I'm sorry. It brings you to the advanced course network.
Mhm.
The problem still is that a lot of those courses they're not like algebra 2, or they're
They don't
kind of
have
odds
the-
and end
yeah.
courses, which is great because it might be something that like a Situate can't offer. So we get a couple of students, 1 or 2 a year, but not
a
more than
lot.
that.
And do some of the people that are taking the college courses, do they also meet the graduation requirements?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, I found a report on, right in the, data dig, that lists all of our kids and exactly how many college credits they have amassed.
I was just gonna,
I'll-
that was
I'll
my,
pull that up
that
for
was
you.
my next
Okay, that's
question. Like,
great.
do you
Yeah.
have any idea of how many credits our kids are getting?
Yeah, it's a report right on the dashboard.
I haven't seen that. We'll
Yeah,
take
I
a look
was-
at that. That's great.
I'm excited about it.
And then just the last piece about this. So February 1st is our 8th grade move up night and course selection fair. You're all welcome to that. It's from 6 to 8. We actually start, I believe, at 5:30. Stephanie and Grace will be doing the chorus and band concert for 8th grade right ahead of that. So they'll get their concert, the parents will be here. We'll start here in the auditorium. And this year we're changing things up because we had a student panel for those eighth graders right before Christmas. We're hosting an alumni panel this year. So we've reached out to a freshman and sophomore in college that graduated from Situate and are attending colleges, some career students who went into a trade, and they're going to speak to the eighth graders that night and their families about how Situate High School has prepared them for whatever they went into. And then we go into the main gym. Our athletic department will be here. All the coaches have signed up. They're going to have tables this year, which is new. And then every teacher and some of our upperclassmen will be here that night to talk to the eighth graders and their parents. That night opens up our portal, and students in grades 8 through 11 will then be able to go on to this website, pick their courses, and then sit with their counselor. And then we start the building process for next year, the scheduled building
So
process.
I need to jump in here for a second because
Sure.
I want to speak to the school committee. I know, I think all of us have children that have gone through the schools here. So there used to be and I'm not sure, you guys have a little bit older than mine, not much. There used to be that typical move up night, and everyone comes, you'd sit here, you'd watch a film, they'd tell you a bunch of numbers, and it was blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know they're coming here. So my first two students, that's what we did, and it was great. When my daughter, who is now in 11th grade, was entering the 9th grade, and her brothers are only 4 and 6 years older than her. So this is a recent change. I promise there's a good point to this, and it's not to talk about my kids. I talk to them. And when I was knocked out of, it was my favorite night in Situate, was this night. So I encourage all, and I've been every year since, just because, and I think as parents of very smart, very successful kids that have gone through these schools, but to see where we've ramped it, it's I'm getting goosebumps. So
February 1,
and it's
February
the
1st.
best
Yep,
part
I'll
of
send
it
an
is-
email.
I don't know that I don't always make, I'm always late, I don't always make it to this presentation, but if you go to the gym and you see all these teachers, most importantly, teachers who have embraced, every teacher in the high school, I believe, is there
Yeah.
in some capacity or other. So
that's
many students are
fantastic.
there and it's funny, like, and they're actually trying to shake down the kids. Come to HOSA, come to DECA, come to this, but it was the most, it was honestly, I just get excited about it. So I would encourage, if you have the time, just to see, and it's kudos to Mr. Hassel and his team of what we've been able to establish. Because before, even mine, that's 22, he came through, he had 1 year of CTE, right? Like, he was exposed to it. Your kids had none, right? Like, you're like a little bit ahead of mine, maybe. So to see where we've come in a short period of time. And I love that idea. I know you had, I saw some of the videos. I know you had your assembly here where your students spoke here. So to be able to bring in the grads is like, you're getting you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing
Thank
it.
you.
I promise, that was a lot, but it's just how excited I am.
How are you doing? How are our CT programs doing? Is there a lot of excitement coming in for next year for those CTE programs of study?
Of our Situate students
Out
out of district? Yeah.
of district.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got 13 accepted applications for next year so far. So we anticipate that that's going to be more, hopefully.
Mhm.
We have a lot of work to do with our eighth graders. There's currently 35 applications from the eighth grade to go elsewhere next year.
Okay, will they all be there February 1?
Yes. So there's a state law that says that I have to inform the families and they have to sign off on their graduation requirements before October 1st of their freshman year. And this is that night. So parents will have to be here and sign off on that. Eighth graders are going to be getting a letter tomorrow about this. And we typically get about 90% of the eighth grade families here. So it'll be a good night to make an informed decision about which high school they're going to choose.
Do you have a sense on where they're leaning?
I've had an exit interview with every student and I'm now starting to schedule with parents. Unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with the field and athletics.
Instead of programs of study.
Right.
Mhm.
And, some kids and families are making choices because they're passionate about a certain career and, that's what this is all about. And There has been very little applications of students to leave for programs that we offer. So they traditionally are programs that we don't have here.
Mr. Hassel, could you please repeat? Because I wish I could find it on my phone really quick. Could you, I saw you, you obviously spoke to the 8th grade students as well, work in the room, doing your thing. There was one very important statistic that you shared, I think once or twice, and you said it in a very direct manner. So I'm going to ask you to do that again. How many of our once our kids are in Situate High School this year, how many Situate High School students did you have ask you to leave the district?
That number has changed since that assembly. So I said to the 8th graders, and there's been 0 applications. We have had 1 application to go to a different high school, but it wasn't Punahou. But I think that's, to your point, Colleen, that's very telling that the students who are here are really enjoying their experience, and they're getting, I think, one of the top educations in the state. Yeah. We held a student panel, and a lot of the students who came back were sitting in that panel, which was great. That's a good point, Kathleen. Any other program of studies questions?
That was exciting. Thank you. It's so
Thank
good
you
to
all.
see. Yeah. I make motion to approve I'm moving this baby along. I'm the one asking the questions, right? Who cares? No one's ever going to violate us for doing too many votes, I don't think, right? I make a motion to approve the program of studies. So we'll do. Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Everything. Are there any announcements that anybody would like to make?
I'd like to make an announcement.
Oh,
The audit is closed.
yeah.
She says that was so quietly. Yeah, are you kidding? I was with bated breath right now. I'm like, what you gonna say? What you gonna say?
Where's the champagne?
Yes, well done. Yes. Well done. Well done.
Wow.
Good job.
Well, how am I going to come up after that? I just wanted to say, when I was going through looking at the newsletters from the different schools, I was noticing that the middle school started a Spartan Feinstein Leadership Committee.
Yes.
And they had their first meeting with 24 students to discuss different events and initiatives, including community service, which I think is great that our school students
We have
and
a lot
faculty are
going
giving back
on.
to the community, because the community gives us a lot. And I also was interested to read that a high school engineering student working with 8th grade students in different things. So I just think that was fun to point out. I will send you an email in the morning to remind the Hope and Clayville elementary principals to send newsletters, because if they are, I'm not getting them, and I do love reading them. Keeps me abreast.
I have one announcement, and I know that maybe Lori and Steph will elaborate this on the Tuesday meeting when we talk about the budget, but I know that during public comment over the last several months, we've heard a lot of discussion about, inadequate furniture and things like that. And I know that our principals had put some of that requests into their building budgets, and the district has received an $86,000 grant from RIDE for furniture and
Specific to furniture.
well, for furniture, but that has to have it's you can use a lot of it for that. And I know, Michael,
Grant
that was a
funded.
good big part of your funding. So I was like, yeah, it's some pennies from heaven for a little bit, but I think we'll get more information on how that plans for that. But I was so relieved to see
Please
that.
tell us more about it, because that's been one of my
I
little,
know it's
my
like
little,
right
my little nugget. But for everybody, yeah.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
I-
Aye.